Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into Mark Twain. Now, you probably think of him first as, America's great humorist, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, all that wit.
That's the common image, yeah.
But as we were digging into the sources for this, what really struck us is the layer underneath, the sharp social critic, someone really wrestling with racism, religion, justice, stuff that feels incredibly current.
Absolutely. It's often hidden in plain sight behind the jokes.
So that's our big question today, really. How did this guy, known for making people laugh, turn into such a piercing voice on society? And why do his ideas still hit so hard now?
Right. Why the lasting power?
We've been looking at pieces like Mark Twain on racism, how religion is used to justify injustice. From The Marginalian, an opinion piece calling him American Lit's first critical race theorist. And another overview, Mark Twain, American satirist, social critic.
Good stuff. Lots to unpack there.
Yeah. So our mission really is to unpack that legacy, find some surprising things, and give you a shortcut to understanding why Twain still matters so much.
And we'll definitely be looking beyond just the humor, trying to connect his observations to the bigger picture, then and now.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. To get Twain the critic, you have to go back to his childhood. Samuel Langhorne Clemens. That was his real name, of course.
Right.
Born in Missouri, 1835, grew up in Hannibal, the river town, the one that inspired Tomahawk.
That famous setting.
And his father owned slaves. Twain himself said basically that growing up in pro-slavery Missouri, he just accepted it. It was normal. He wrote he had no aversion to slavery back then.
Which is, a stark starting point, considering where he ended up.
Exactly. But there's this story he tells in his autobiography. It feels, pivotal. About an enslaved boy, Sandy, hired from Maryland, torn away from his family.
I remember this one.
Yeah. Twain describes Sandy as always singing, whistling, yelling, just noisy. And it drove young Clemens crazy. Maddening, devastating, unendurable, he called it.
Understandable from a kid's perspective, maybe.
Sure. So he goes complaining to his mother, Jane Clemens, wants her to make Sandy be quiet.
And her response.
It's incredible. She says, poor thing, when he sings, it shows that he is not remembering, and that comforts me. But when he is still, I'm afraid he is thinking, and I cannot bear it. He will never see his mother again. If he can sing, I must not hinder it, but be thankful for it.
Wow. Just simple words, profound impact.
Totally. Twain said it was a simple speech made up of small words, but it went home. It woke something up in him. Empathy. He said Sandy's noise stopped bothering him after that. It really seems like a turning point, doesn't it? Or maybe one of many.
I think it was truly foundational. You can almost see the click, can't you? That lesson in compassion, it wasn't just a moment. It clearly burrowed deep. It set him up to start questioning things.
Even things everyone else accepted.
Exactly. Even things the church was okay with. He mentioned, the local pulpit taught us that God approved it, that it was a holy thing. Talking about slavery.
It's jarring to hear that.
It is, and it shows how powerful that personal moment with his mother must have been to counteract that environment. He even briefly joined the Confederates.
Oh, right. But didn't last long.
No, he jokes later he deserted because he got tired of retreating. Then he tried mining, didn't work out, so he switched to journalism. And that's when the celebrated jumping frog story hit in 1865.
His big break. Pure humor, mostly.
Pure humor, yes. But you can see those seeds of empathy planted earlier, just waiting.
Okay, so that brings us to his big novels. And the contrast is, pretty stark. Tom Sawyer, 1876, it feels nostalgic, right? Almost like a childhood myth.
Yeah, it has that glow about it.
But then Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1885. That's different. It's darker. It really goes after America's hypocrisy on race.
A much sharper edge.
And it's always been controversial, hasn't it? Banned for the language, but it's actually a satire against racism. Huck, this kid with hardly any education or religion, he ends up unlearning racism by helping Jim, the escaped slave.
Right. Toni Morrison pointed that out powerfully, how Twain exposed the whole ideology.
So here's something fascinating from the sources we read. They talk about this joke in Huck Finn. Not ha-ha funny, but like a hidden, devastating point that they argue almost nobody got for, 130 years.
A joke people missed. What's the idea?
The idea is that the whole book is this incredibly dark satire. It's about systemic racism, but also gender oppression, a rejection of standard education, religion. It's basically a metaphor for the failure of Reconstruction.
Wow, okay, so not just a story about a boy in a raft trip.
Not at all. Think about the journey itself. Huck fakes his death, They drift the wrong way down the river. They find that drowned woman, a runaway slave in disguise. The pointless, bloody feud between the Shepherdsons and Grangerfords. Those awful con men, the Duke and Dauphin. It's a trip through hell almost.
And viewing it that way, yeah, it paints a bleak picture of the post-Civil War South. This idea that Reconstruction didn't fix things.
Exactly. And the sources argue this reading isn't just, a modern take. They say Huck Finn has been deliberately misread by generations of scholars and sort of co-opted by a sanitized version of American culture. Whitewashed, they call it.
That's a strong claim. It reframes the book entirely, doesn't it? Makes it much more radical for its time.
It really does. And look at the ending. The whole part where Tom Sawyer shows up.
Oh, yeah. The elaborate game to free Jim.
Right. Which is just cruel because Jim was already freed months before.
Yeah.
Tom just wanted some adventure. And Huck's reaction, he realizes Jim isn't truly free. He's just been legally freed. There's a difference.
That's a crucial distinction, yeah.
So Huck decides he's had enough. He's going to light out for the territory because Aunt Sally wants to civilize him, and he can't stand it. He's escaping society itself.
It's a really unsettling ending. Why do that? Why not give the audience the happy reunion they probably wanted?
Well, the argument is, because there was no happy ending possible. The sources suggest Twain knew there was no safe place for Huck or Jim. Huck's escape plan, it was doomed. Civilization was broken.
So the only way to tell the real truth about American racism and brutality
was through fiction. Through this dark, uncomfortable story that refused to offer easy answers.
That's powerful. It means we need to read it with much sharper eyes.
So if Huck Finn was that critical, what about his other views? His commentary beyond the novel. On race, for instance, you see this clear evolution, right?
Definitely. You mentioned his early acceptance of slavery.
Yeah, and some early letters apparently use racist language, but later, he actively paid for black students to go to college. Warner T. McGuinn at Yale Law School, the painter Charles E. Porter.
That's significant action, not just words.
And he wrote, "We have ground the manhood out of them and the shame is ours." Real accountability there. Plus, his friendship with John T. Lewis, a black farmer. Twain called him my equal, sometimes my superior. Lewis supposedly influenced Jim's character.
It shows a personal journey alongside his public writing.
And then there's The United States of Lyncherdom, that essay from 1901. It's brutal.
And unpublished in his lifetime, right?
Right, not until 1923. He basically predicts seeing a black person burned publicly in New York City. He thought his readers just weren't ready for that truth.
Which says a lot about the times and his own awareness.
He even supported reparations. Apparently shared a stage with Booker T. Washington to raise money for Tuskegee Institute in 1906.
It really paints a picture of someone grappling with the nation's biggest sin and trying to push for change in concrete ways. It wasn't just abstract critique. His willingness to tackle these uncomfortable things, even if it meant alienating people, that's key.
And it wasn't just race, was it? He had strong feelings about religion, too.
Oh, absolutely. A lifelong critique, really, especially how religion was used to justify things like slavery. He remembered those preachers calling it holy, backed by the Bible. That clearly stuck with him.
Yeah, you can feel the outrage there. And politics.
Deeply skeptical, distrusted politicians, had that famous line about patriotism being a word that always commemorates a robbery.
Still resonates.
Doesn't it? And he was fiercely anti-imperialist. He slammed King Leopold's atrocities in the Congo.
King Leopold's soliloquy, yeah.
And he condemned the U.S. taking the Philippines, joined the Anti-Imperialist League, said flat out, "We have gone there to conquer, not to redeem."
Pretty radical stuff for back then.
Very. Plus, supporting women's suffrage, labor rights. Quite progressive for a man of his era. He had his financial ups and downs, bad investments.
Lost a lot of money, right?
Yeah, but he worked to pay back every penny. Showed a real sense of personal integrity, even with his flaws.
Okay, so bringing this all forward, why does Twain still feel so relevant? It's kind of amazing, isn't it?
It really is. The issues just haven't gone away.
Take Huck Finn. The way it mirrors ongoing systemic racism. I mean, look at Percival Everett's novel, James, that just came out, retelling the story from Jim's view. It proves how alive that conversation still is.
Exactly. It taps right back into that source material.
And his essay on lynching. You can draw a direct line to modern conversations about racial violence, can't you?
Sadly, yes. The echoes are undeniable.
His political satire, too. The Gilded Age. Reading about corruption back then feels unnervingly familiar today with all the polarization.
His wit cuts just as deep now.
And what about the whole cancel culture debate? People still argue about banning Huck Finn in schools because of the language.
Right, and scholars like Shelley Fisher Fishkin argued that censoring him just whitewashes history, prevents us from grappling with the past.
It's a tough one. And his anti-imperialism. That resonates with debates we're having right now about global conflicts, intervention, neocolonialism.
It absolutely does. His critiques of power, hypocrisy, human nature, they seem timeless.
So what stands out is Twain knew he had to make people uncomfortable, didn't he? He had that quote about how sometimes a historian or maybe an artist has to lie or enlarge the truth by diameter so people can actually see it.
That's such a great point. Art as an uncomfortable truth teller. He was definitely a product of his time, no doubt, with all the contradictions that implies. But he pushed against its boundaries so fiercely. The humor was the way in. But the destination was often moral outrage.
Yeah.
And that's why he lasts, I think. He forces us, even now, to look at things we might prefer to ignore.
Yeah.
About ourselves, about our society.
So, wrapping up this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've gone from his childhood, the key moment with his mother, through the complexities of Huck Finn, his evolving critiques.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. We see the humor, sure, but always serving that deeper search for truth and justice. He showed us, I think, that the hardest truths often wear disguises, like satire. And maybe the real point, the real joke, takes generations to fully land. The thought to leave you with is, what uncomfortable truths are we missing in our own stories today? What's the joke that we're not quite getting yet?
That's a challenge. And it really speaks to why engaging with difficult, complex art like Twain's is still so valuable. It keeps prodding us to think critically, to look deeper. It's not just entertainment, it's reflection.
Well said. So, what stands out to you listening? What do you take away about Twain's legacy? How should we handle his work, its controversies, today? We'd love for you to keep thinking about that.
Yeah, continue the conversation.
And remember, all the sources we drew on are in the show notes if you want to dig deeper yourself.
Definitely worth exploring.
Join us next week for another deep dive into something completely different. Stay curious.